What stood out most to you?
You know, leading up to the event, there were a lot of analysts who were expecting iPhone price hikes, particularly on the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max line. I had never heard that was happening, so I didn't believe it was happening, and little do we know, they announced it today with no price hikes. Very interesting in light of inflation, price increases you're seeing from Meta, from Samsung, and from other companies. However, there are some inflationary related price increases you're seeing in Europe and India, but if you want an iPhone 14 Pro, it's going to be that same $999. Now, I will note, if you look at the fine print, that some of the carrier deals this year, they're not as aggressive as last year, right? So last year, you were able to upgrade from a 12 Pro Max to a 13 Pro Max and get like $50 cash back on top of getting that new phone. This year, that same upgrade from a 13 Pro Max to a 14 Pro Max, it's going to cost most people between $300 and $600. So the carrier deal's not as aggressive.
You know, Julie, it's almost a given that every year the price of the iPhone goes up. We get a new one and the price goes up. What do you make of Apple's play here? Is this genius or not?
Well, I think it's a nod to the economic headwinds that we feel like a lot of consumers are facing. So I think it was very smart, not only keeping the prices relatively flat, but you also heard Tim Cook say the word essential a lot. It's essential, it's essential. And it's not only essential, but now it's essential to our health and essential to our safety. So I think it's smart marketing.
Mark, when it comes to the technology, you know, as you reported, we're seeing more significant upgrades than we saw last year, but to some people, they might still look at this phone and say, looks like basically the same phone. But, you know, those technological upgrades that go into, you know, a new chip, thinner, faster, longer battery life, are so hard to do. Can you talk to us about the significance of the inside changes that we can't see?
Sure. I mean, if you're looking at the jump from the 13 to the 14, I'm not talking about the Pro models, I think I can sit here today and safely tell you that there is absolutely no reason for you to upgrade. There's no faster processor, the battery life is about the same, and the camera enhancements going from the 13 to the 14 are not that significant. But when you get to the Pro models, you are seeing major changes, right? That new notch cutout, they really turned something that's an ugly portion of the iPhone into something that quite frankly looks awesome. Right, changing the notch into a softer area where you can see when your Uber's arriving, you could see your music playback, and that technology is something they've spent years developing. The Apple Watch Pro, we first wrote about that about 2 years ago. This thing has been in development probably in some way or another since the original Apple Watch launched 7 years ago. Let's talk about the car crash feature, right? That required them to actually do car crash testing. They showed a video of that. That takes years. Right? They need to get this right. That's years of data collection. And the lengths they go to for testing and development in terms of features like that probably go beyond what any other company in the space goes through.
Right. You know, I've dropped my phone so many times. How are they going to know that's not a car crash, Julie?
Well, you weren't going 60 miles per hour, so there's that. You were probably just standing.
But, you know, what do you agree with there, and what would you pick a bone with of what Mark had to say?
Yeah, so I think the technological advances are pretty substantial, but I think the thing is for a lot of consumers, it's subtle.
Right.
You know, and it's one of those things, if you're just going from a 13 to a 14, you're like, okay, it's a little bit better. But if you're going from like an 11 or a 12 to a 14, you can't really articulate it as a consumer, but at some point you're like, oh my goodness, that's so much better. It's so much brighter. The pictures are so much better. I had no idea. So there's a lot of things I think that are just subtle. I think a lot of the other things they did, they added sensors, right? So when you add sensors, you get more data, you get more precise data. They can model more activities. Like my favorite, as I told you, is being able to track my kick sets in the pool, right? They can do that with these kinds of sensors. There's other really subtle things about managing the battery, like dimming the phone, you know, the transparency, the spatial audio. There's a lot of things that are just really subtle, I think, that are hard to communicate to consumers, but when consumers experience it, they just have a wow effect.
What's your sense of how difficult supply chain issues are going to be to manage over the next 6 months?
I would say not being an expert in the supply chain, you know, it seems to be impacting the world economy, but somehow Apple seems to be doing okay.
And Mark, you would agree with that, right? I mean, when you look at the lead times on these various products, they're not that bad.
Yeah, so far on the Apple Watch Ultra, what we're seeing is only one of the 3 variations is already shipping at the end of October, whereas you still get first day, September 23rd availability for 2 of the bands. Now, the impact seems to be on the bands themselves, not the Watch Ultra. So if you're trying to get a Watch Ultra on launch day, my recommendation for you would buy any band combination just to get that watch and then worry about buying the band you want later. So clearly in terms of the production process for those bands, trying to figure out which bands are going to be more popular, that's going to be tougher for Apple. Also, the Watch Ultra is one SKU, right? One color, one finish, one screen size, right? Much less complex to produce when you have fewer SKUs. So I think they're going to be okay on that. I also think they're going to be just fine on iPhone production. The issues they had with iPad and Mac supply, those seem, based on my research, probably 90 to 95% resolved. We'll see what happens in October, November when they launch new variations for the Mac and the iPad Pro.
Now, one thing we didn't hear much about is the mixed reality headset that you've, of course, been reporting on. I know you're expecting it to come next year, unless there were some Easter eggs today that I didn't see. Did you hear anything, Mark, that gave you more clues as to what this headset will look like?
No Easter eggs today. I know in Power On we wrote the other day there would be no reveal of this mixed reality headset. I'm not expecting them to announce that until next year, and I think 2023 and 2024 will be the year of AR and VR for Apple. No new augmented reality features on the iPhone, nothing AR related to the watch. There are some new transparency modes and some cool new audio features for the AirPods Pro 2 announced today. It's plausible that some of that functionality will make their way into the speaker system on the Reality Pro, which is, I believe, will be the name of the headset next year. But I think we're still a few months away before seeing that headset come to fruition.
And what about the M word, Julie, the metaverse? What's Apple's play going to be? Do they need one?
Well, there is no metaverse, so Apple's not late yet. No, I think, more seriously, I think Apple's really good at timing the market. And what we're seeing now are some metaverse precursors, which means we've got some luxury brands selling you a Gucci purse for your avatar in Roblox, which is probably something more that your children play. Right, so there's some things like
I prefer a real Gucci at this point, but
a real Gucci at this point. No, but I think, and also I think the notion of these augmented reality glasses, like we're just not there with the technology yet, where we can get a comfortable headset on consumers that's going to wow them with a great use case at the right price point. So I think I agree with Mark. We may see some kind of a pro version announced in the next couple of years, but I believe Apple will come into the market when they feel the market's ready and they feel consumers ready. There's a good use case, and I think Apple's just generally very good at timing the market, and I think it's still too early.
And Mark, you've reported that they're still working through hardware, software issues with that forthcoming headset. I want to end with you on comments that Tim made to me around the last earnings call, which aligned with your reporting that Apple is going to be spending through the downturn. That's something that they've always done. He feels like it's made them stronger on the other side, but also that they're going to be deliberate about that spending. Do you have any sense of where Apple will pull back and not quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're seeing budget cuts across the company. I don't think you're seeing that happen to core areas. I think that they have enough people to launch the products they want to launch. I think you're going to see a slowdown in hiring. In fact, they are doing a slowdown in hiring. It's very difficult right now to get hiring approval at Apple. You're going to see them spend probably about the same on research and development for the next year or so just no growth there.
Okay.
But I'm not alarmed about the company's prospects because of this.